Okay, we'll call the October Planning and Zoning meeting to order. Was the meeting properly announced?
Yes, it was.
Okay, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A reminder to please use your microphone when speaking. Roll call. Let the record show Bruce Knockreiner is excused. All other committee members are present. Need a motion to approve the agenda, and I do have one change. We would like agenda item number 20 to be moved up to right after number 9. With that change, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Don? And Jay? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Agenda is approved. Do we have any changes to the September 6th minutes? Jody?
We had a third condition that we put onto the cup, and that was to have the conditions go with the ownership, not with the parcel, and to include Jonai Mullet as the next owner coming on, and that is not related in our minutes. So there is no third condition.
Okay,
So I'd like that added if we could.
you have that change log written down.
So the cup would end upon the sale of the property by either Harley Ray Miller and or Jonai Mullet, because Jonai is to be the next owner.
I understand.
It doesn't really specify add anticipated new owner to the request, but it doesn't say that it ends, that the cup ends when his ownership ends.
Yeah, I need a motion to approve the minutes with that change. Jay, second. John? Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved as amended. Public participation, when we get to that. Correspondence? Any correspondence?
I received none.
Okay, we have no unfinished business. So we'll go down to item number 20.
We just have this one.
What?
Thank you.
Item number 20, rural address change request. What? Correspondence. We would like to thank you for having the monthly meetings at 6 p.m. Please keep the meeting time at 6 p.m. We appreciate all of you and the hard work you do for the county. Thank you, Mark and Nancy Beta.
Thank you.
Okay, now number 20, rural address change request.
Does anybody have any questions about the changes?
Any questions about the change request? Need a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Randy, second. John, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Change request approved. Okay. Discuss and or act on consideration of appointment of David Jansen to the Board of Adjustment. David is in the room. Would you like to say anything? Use a microphone, please.
Good evening. New to the area, but as far as being a full-time resident, but I've been living here seasonally for the past 30 years by Castle Rock Lake in Strongs Prairie Township. I've recently retired from the fire service as a paramedic firefighter, and I'm just looking for something to do to the community to help the community. I've been serving the public for 45 years, the different challenges that I faced on a daily basis as a firefighter, I think I could bring some quality assurance to the BOA as far as being fair and adequate to any variances that they would come up with. So it's just a new challenge for me in my life, and we'll see where this goes. I recently have sat in on the last two meetings, and today's meeting was a little bit eye-opener for me, but those challenges were done properly by Robert's Rules of Orders and so forth like that. So thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody from the committee have any questions for David, for Daniel? No, David. Jay?
This vacancy is Bob Kraus's position, is that right?
I don't know.
No, it's, there is a current open vacancy on the position or on the board. I believe Bob Kraus's position will be becoming vacant. And then the Board of Adjustment would elect a new chair at whatever point Bob Kraus does officially step down.
Okay, I need a motion to approve this appointment so we can forward it to the full county board. Don, second. Jody? Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. County board meeting, October 17th, 6 p.m. Next thing is the public hearing section. Dusty.
The public hearing for this evening is for Daniel Dreisbach. Rezone request for a parcel, 4.41 acres from I-1 industrial to R2 rural residential on property located in the southeast quarter, northwest quarter, being lot 2 of CSM 5176, section 17, township 15 north, range 7 east, parcel 12-566-15, town of Jackson. I received no correspondence. The town of Jackson did not object to the request. The property to the north, their reasoning, their property to the north is zoned R2, and the plan commission unanimously agreed to the change, and that was at their, no, they didn't put the date on there, but it was.
Daniel Dreisbach, President via Zoom, Dustin. That was on September the 7th of this year is where the town of Jackson approved.
There you go.
Okay, Dan, do you have any further comments on your request?
No, sir, I don't. I appreciate the committee hearing my request this evening. I apologize I'm also a firefighter paramedic near the city of Chicago, and I was unable to make the meeting this evening. There's really no plans for the property itself. It's a beautiful piece of land. We were going to build on the property, but unfortunately, due to my mom having some health concerns, we're going to have to move a little closer to the Portage area. But other than that, so that's the only reason why we're really selling the property.
Okay. Any questions from the committee for Daniel? Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone here who wants to speak against this request? Hearing none, it's up to the committee. Jay? Jay, motion to approve. Do I have a second? John, second? Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Shapey,
Yes.
Churko,
Yes.
Carvillo, Nozel,
Yes.
Thiessen,
Yes.
Gilner.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. This will be at the full county board on October 17th, 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Thank you. Thank you again, folks.
Okay, next, project status report. Any questions? Okay, register of deeds report. Any questions? Jody?
Julie, was the Adams County Chamber Mix and Mingle at Rustic Ridge, did it have a good attendance?
I think they had a fair amount of people there. I was kind of going to meet with different businesses to work on the honor rewards to get businesses to sign up. I did get 2, but there wasn't a whole lot of businesses there to talk to, but they had a fair turnout.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, Register of Deeds 2024 budget.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yep, so we met with, Julie to go over her budget. There were some minor changes. We made a little bit of a change with the, real estate transfer fees and up the revenue by about $10,000. Other than that, there wasn't too much else, that would have been large dollar amounts. The, wages, we have currently budgeted at, 4.9% cost of living adjustment. And then we're looking at updating the personnel manual and doing a longevity pay incentive. So we have that worked into the budget, but that would be upon approval of changes to the personnel manual. And then health insurance is budgeted at a 16% increase. And that'll also apply for those wages and benefits changes will also apply for the planning and zoning budget.
Okay, anybody having Jody?
Kyle, could you tell me what the wage increase percentage is again? I'm sorry.
We have a placeholder of 4.9% in the budget currently.
Thank you.
John?
Kyle, when I look at the bottom in the grand totals, looks like there's about a $61,000 decrease in expenses. Just curious what we're cutting out of the expense line.
Oh, from the 2023 budget to 2024?
Yeah.
Yep. It's the, we had 2 deputies budgeted for the 2023 budget. So it's 1 deputy and the Register of Deeds for wages and benefits.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, department head report. Who wants to speak?
Guess I'll go. So recently, it has started slowing down just a little bit. Not winter status yet, but it's a lot spottier now. We are in the process, you saw in the project report or project status report. I did update that. We are in the process of switching over our permit tracking database program. The intention is to go live January 1st if it's completely done. They are building out the necessary things that we need to make it fully useful. So that's going to take some time here in the next couple of months, but otherwise nothing out of the ordinary.
Jody?
Were there any citations?
Yes, thank you for reminding me.
No worries.
2, and 1 was for quite a number of unlicensed vehicles, and the other was for a shipping container that was supposed to have been moved. This is not their first citation.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, discuss planning and zoning 2024 budget. Kyle? Kyle?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I had someone at the door. Yeah, so the planning and zoning budget, we didn't really make very many changes on it. Same thing as I said with Julie's budget, 4.9% cost of living adjustment. The budgeted incentive pay for employees, and then 16% health insurance increase. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the capital budget. We have no funding going into it for this year because the intent is the vehicles that we just purchased, and I think they just went into service this week. The anticipation is to sell them in 2025 and use the proceeds to purchase new ones.
Okay, anybody? Questions, John?
So Kyle, I got a couple here. The mileage, we just purchased company vehicles. What are we paying mileage for?
If you could scroll up, please, Lana.
I guess.
Yeah, it's mainly mileage is mainly for like overnight trainings and stuff like that, where they wouldn't take a county vehicle.
Gotcha. And then when I look at the bottom, we continue to have negative revenue to expenses. Are we looking to make any adjustments to bring that in line?
To increase the revenues for planning and zoning?
Well, I mean, our total revenue plan for 2024 is 356, and our total expenses is 631. So $274,000 deficit. Just curious if what are we doing to look at bringing those numbers in line? Looks like we're spending our entire budget in wages.
Yeah, so I actually, during our budget meeting, I asked Dusty a very similar question. I'll let him kind of explain that if you're prepared, Dusty.
Yep. So zoning is something that benefits the greater community. One option we would have, and I believe once upon a time in the department, it was net neutral. The concern I would have with that is because it is for the benefit of the greater good, putting the entire burden on violations and everything else just on people who take out permits doesn't seem fair. They do certainly cover the costs of their the inspections and the time involved with the permitting process, but there's a lot that goes in. So in order to increase revenue to the point where putting it all in the backs of the permit holders or permit applicants isn't fair. So that's why there is a levy that is associated with it.
Anybody else?
I just got a question for Dusty. Why was the sanitary income up like 40% or the anticipated?
And Kyle may be able to explain this better than me, but we've been looking at the last 5 years, I believe, Kyle, and it's steadily been going up. The 22 was at 123,000 in excuse me, that was building permits. 126,000. The 21 was 135. And so far this year we are at 104, so it should be right in line with that. We had been budgeting about 80 to 90,000. We didn't have a lot of good data to go off of before 21 because all the building, zoning, sanitary were all lumped together. Okay. So I didn't have a great way to separate those out. So when we did it, we put in rough estimates for each of them that added up to what we thought we would get total. So now it's more adjusting those numbers to more realistic what's been happening.
Okay, surveyor's report. Any questions? Land information? Questions? Discuss land information 2024 budget.
Yep, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yep. So the land information is in a special revenue fund. So this is actually funded entirely off of grants through all the projects. So we didn't make any changes to the anticipated grant revenues and expenditures. The revenues line up with the expenses, so there's no tax levy associated with this budget.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, 20 is already done. 21 discussion. Building code ordinance chapter. And zoning administration ordinance chapter. Who wants to start? Jody?
I have some questions. So for the discussion of 166, I'm gonna keep them separate. I do see that Joe Jackson is here. And I have some questions that I would like to ask him if no one minds. So, Mr. Jackson, could you tell the committee members about your building inspection experience and credentials?
I have basically probably 19, 20 years of experience. I have 18, 19, 20 years of experience. I have 7 different credentials. I have forum for homes, I have commercial, I have soils, and I have pumps. I guess that would cover my credentials and training.
Don't walk away yet. I've got more for you.
Okay.
Dustin, do you recall when this exclusion was put into place? When we excluded detached garages, et cetera?
Yes.
Could you tell us?
It would have been approximately 2 years ago.
So I'm just double checking. Is it ordinance 9/2021 enacted, I think, in January of 2021?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put 2021. When the exclusion was originally brought before the committee, do you recall the reasons for even considering removing this from the code?
There were a number of different reasons. One of them is the state building or the state uniform dwelling code. The state of Wisconsin doesn't feel inclined to add them to the state building or to the building code. So we are over and above that. The time was a factor in that as well. The number of additional inspections that are created by doing those. And then also the benefit that the community gains by having those.
So are you saying there is no benefit?
Not that there's no benefit, but we would be better served putting our resources elsewhere.
Okay. So this question I have for Mr. Jackson, was your opinion sought and or registered by anyone in the county, such as management, committee members, public, when it was determined to remove building inspections for detached garages? The reason I'm asking is that I'd have to believe that you were involved in or performed the garage inspections and was aware of possible safety issues if detached garages were no longer constructed correctly.
The bottom line on the inspections, 50% of the garages failed. That's unbelievable high rate, to be honest. We're talking about a garage. As far as it not being covered in the UDC code, that is correct. There is a sentence in there that says it doesn't cover accessory structures. Any municipality out there, and lots of them, inspect garages. They put in their ordinance that accessory structures will be covered under the code. Simple as that. When I came here, I had 19 communities that I did for another company. A lot of your counties and that at times didn't do garages unless they were proactive. All your cities and that, they all do garages. Some of the goofy stuff, and I hate to say this, I did lots of cities throughout southern Wisconsin and that here. But I can honestly say Adams County, I've been here for 10 years. It is the worst county I've ever been in when it comes to inspections. Some of the stuff I've seen, it's ridiculous. I seen one, and it's not just homeowners, it's contractors. I had one that actually did a pole building and set trusses on top of the pole and put one nail in that truss to hold it there. And the sad part about it, very educated people. She was a principal at a school here. Contractor out of Necedah. But I've seen unbelievable stuff, and I will say, I probably have inspected in my, say, 20 years, basically, probably 2,000 to 3,000 garages. The people that made the decision to take garages out, I talked to the management. In fact, I argued with management for 6 months on this. In my wildest dreams, I never ever figured that they would actually do something this foolish. Talked to a committee person on this. Basically was told, how much do we have to protect our people? Okay, everybody's got their own opinion. Also was told that would let the other committee members know that I was strongly against it. None of this ever happened. So when you guys voted on it, there was several committee people that had no idea really what was going on. The ball got dropped there, and it got dropped on purpose because they wanted to eliminate garages. Simple as that. They didn't want to hear the truth. The bottom line is, I was quite upset that nobody on the committee basically would have said, Joe, hey, what's going on? What do you see out there before we made this decision? That didn't happen. Also was told that, don't worry about it. It'll be 3 to 4 months before that happens. Yeah, it happened 3 days later. So yeah, it didn't set well with me, but my job is to try to make these places safe for the people in Adams County. My job is not to wonder why in God's green earth we would want to make this county more unsafe. Does not sit well at all with me. But that's about how I feel with the garages inspections. That was a really bad mistake.
So I was part of that committee that made this decision, and the only thing I recollect was that snow load was discussed. There wasn't anything else that was really brought up for us to be concerned with. So I guess one might ask, if there's no required detached garage inspections, how is anything, including truss requirements, verified? Because now we're no longer looking at any aspect, right, of a garage,
No,
nothing.
you're not looking at anything. Yeah, it's, I hate to admit this, I did inspection on a garage on trusses. And on the bottom quarter of the truss, it was painted in red, brace here. And we had one here, and we had one basically probably 10, 12 feet away. Painted in red on every truss, all the way down. I said to the contractor, why do I have a brace right in the middle? Not where it's telling us to put it. And we need 2 of them. I give the contractor credit for being honest. He told me he didn't want to buy another 2x4. I was dumbfounded, but I give him credit for being honest. Yes, I did make him change it. But you see this. Out of all these inspections I've done, you people made a decision. And I'm going to ask every one of you on the committee, how many garage inspections have you done? I'm thinking 0. You know, unfortunately, that's, you know, maybe you get more information. Nobody came to me and asked me, Joe, what are you seeing out there? But it's sad. We did a disgrace to the people in this county. I had old people saying to me, who's going to protect me now? Nobody.
So you had mentioned that you had done 2,000 to 3,000 garage inspections.
Yeah.
Over 10 years, over
20 years.
Over 20 years. does anyone recall what a garage what the cost is to build a garage? Is that just what, Dustin, 400, 200, 300 back then when it wasn't excluded? A permit, yeah.
It's based on square footage. Typical 2-car garage would be the $100 zoning permit and 150, 125.
Okay, so the 100 is still in play, right? Because they still have to get a zoning permit?
Correct.
Okay, so then it's 150. So we were just talking budget and I know that, I've been told previously that the priority of the department is not revenue. It's safety, health, and welfare of the community. So by eliminating the detached garage inspections, haven't we decreased both revenue and the safety, health, and welfare of the community? And that goes along with the budget conversation we just had, that you're coming in as a loss. To me, the math just doesn't work out on that. So, and the whole safety thing, when our purpose, I think I copied it down. The purpose is, hold on. To foster the health, safety, and well-being of persons occupying or using such buildings and that of the general public. So I guess as a committee, I'm wondering if we made a really foolish mistake and maybe we need to look into this and maybe bring it back for inspections. Looking at all the steps involved, and I'm just guessing. So there's slab footings, anchor bolts, framing requirements, electrical wiring if desired, plumbing if desired by the person building their detached garage. Would it be fair to assume that the number would have decreased for the failures, stayed the same, or increased with eliminating detached garage inspections? Safety violations. What is your guess?
The money decreased, absolutely.
Okay. So we're putting,
100 garages, you figure Dusty gave you $150, that's $15,000 or. But there's a lot more to this. This affects contractors and everybody. The contractors, to be honest, can use Joel as the bad guy. So Jay, you're gonna build a garage. You don't want tamper-proof outlets. You don't want GFIs. You tell the electrician, don't put them in. The electrician's actually required to put them in. So he tells you, I need to put them in. Joe's inspecting it. There's no way Joe's gonna pass it without putting them in. And he's right. Now, when Joe's not looking at it, guess what? The electrician's hung out to dry. So what does he do? He's gonna break the code, or he's gonna do the right thing and say, no, I'm not gonna do it. And he just lost $1,500 wiring this garage. He's gonna get someone else. You've taken money away from contractors. You've taken money away from good contractors and gave it to bad contractors. The bottom line is you're going to build a garage. If a good contractor comes in and he says $10,000, the bad guy comes in and says 8,000. Who are you going to take? 95% of the people are going to take that $8,000 one. It's a problem. You're taking money away from businesses. Nobody looked at that. If electrician, and I'm just using electrician, let's say he loses 10 jobs a year because of this. At $1,500 a job, that's $15,000 out of his pocket. He's a single guy running a business. That $15,000 makes a big difference. Maybe he's able to get a helper out there to help him, keep him going. Well, he can't do that now. They're just, the committee never, and I'm not blaming the committee. They didn't understand and weren't led down the path. Or they were led down the path to not do garages, and that was it. That was an agenda.
So since this new system has been in place, how many catastrophic failures have we seen in Adams County where people are injured and garages are collapsing and?
No way to tell. I have no way to prove that at all.
I actually called an insurance company to ask. And they do have information, but they can't share it. So, and it was interesting to understand from an insurance aspect. They don't do these types of checks because it's almost like they assume that someone else is doing that front work for them. So by eliminating the inspections, things aren't maybe insured as they should be. Let's put it that way. So I also had a call into the one of our assessors to see if it impacts property values, and I did not get any response back from him. So I don't know, I guess if I wanted to build a detached garage, I'd pull a zoning permit currently. I'd build it or have someone build it. I'd wire it if I wanted electricity. I'd plumb it or have someone else do it. Would anyone be the wiser that I put plumbing in or electricity? I'm just asking.
Nope.
No.
We're not looking at it.
Okay, so
Here's another thing I'd like to bring up. When it comes to electric in a garage, if the power company comes and puts a panel in there, in that garage, and a meter on the garage, because they want their own service for the garage, they're not gonna hook it up until I inspect it. But we don't inspect garages. But we make a special exception to send me in to look at the service, only the service. So when I see the outlets are not GFIs, I was in one, it was a dandy. The panel had holes in it where fingers could go in. I'm like, really? The outside head was in water damaged. I made them change both. When it came to the wiring in there, we actually had extension cords where we cut the ends of the plugs off and we twisted wires together and ran it to the circuit breaker. Couldn't do a damn thing about it. But I'm telling you, when a fire happens, an insurance company finds it or something, there's a battle, and they go on the stand. Guess what? Joe's seen it. We have this argument, me and Dusty, about liability. But Joe's seen it. Guess what? We got a problem because I didn't address it. So there's stuff to be a little bit careful of what we do out there.
well, I just had one other thing. So if I have plumbing that I put into this building, right? Here, where is the sanitation enforcement involved? Because no one comes into the building to inspect it. No one would be any the wiser that I had plumbing, toilet, whatever.
Well, they're supposed to get a reconnect permit. That way we can charge them $175 for pipe in the ground. But once it comes into the garage, oh no, we're not gonna look at that.
So then you'd have to go back to the owner being aware that they need to get this hookup, correct?
Yeah, they're told if they put a bathroom in the garage, they're told. Now, do they tell us they put in the
Well,
bathroom?
that
in the
was my
garage?
question. Why?
Yeah, well, we don't ask that question.
Okay, so I guess the whole discovery on that,
People build a whole house in the garage. They don't tell us that either. We can find several of them out there.
Randy,
okay.
So I distinctly remember, I believe Joe was probably referring to me when he said he met with a committee member to discuss the thing.
I
And
said I
distinct-
talked.
What's that?
I talked to the committee. I didn't meet with you.
I met with you at the lumberyard. I can distinctly remember the conversation, but it doesn't matter.
Well,
My feelings on it are that I have no problem with a garage inspection. Not a issue at all. I have a problem with how unfairly it's treated, especially how it's unfairly treated with the ag businesses and like that did not have to have any inspections just because they're an ag. They still have the same electrical problems. They still have the same cave-in problems.
egg has to be inspected electrically. The state passed that.
Since then, I believe. It's not been that long, but
Right, correct.
correct. But they still do not have to have a building permit for the garage.
For egg.
Hey, can I finish? I didn't interrupt you guys. Just let me finish. I'm just saying, we have exempted, as an example, we have exempted ag always. And I told Joe at that time, that was one of the reasons that I didn't feel it was right. That we'd put up a 50 by 150 ag building and we'd put our $500,000 harvesters in it. Our guys were working on the harvesters in it. They had to have no inspections, no permit other than a zoning permit. And then I build a 24 by 24 garage next door on my lot, and I've got to have 3 permits. And that was one of my big bites with this whole thing and always has been. If we're talking safety, we're talking safety. That's,
We can't make the state change that though. We have absolutely no control.
But-
Do I think you're right, Randy? Yeah, I do. I think it should be looked at, but the state has done now all electrical in egg. And believe it or not, we required electrical in houses to be inspected. But if you went to a Walmart, they didn't have to inspect the commercial wiring in a Walmart, in any commercial building. Now, the state is required it in commercial building, all commercial buildings.
but
So
you
there's been a.
you still see my point that why are we picking on one, we're picking on one segment that the state says we don't, state doesn't care about the ag, whether their building falls down or not.
So-
The county can do something about the garages, so you're saying
Okay.
because you can't do anything about the ag roads?
Phil,
That's fine,
Phil,
that's fine.
we're gonna get complaints that you're not talking on the mic. Can you please use the mic?
well, I'm letting the committee members speak first. Jody, you want to move on to the next ordinance?
We certainly could. Are we done even discussing this? Where are we going with it?
I don't know where you're going with this.
I don't either. I'm wanting maybe to,
Well, we don't want to sit here all night either.
right. But I guess maybe as a committee, we should reconsider adding this code back in for detached garages.
Jody, have you went out and talked to any of the town chairs in any of their townships and asked them what they think? We're right back to the same thing with our comprehensive zoning. We're trying to make the decision for these townships without giving them any input ahead. I asked you to get those information on the comprehensive zoning out to the townships and get input back so we could make an informed decision. And we just seem to not ignore our townships
O-
out there.
Okay, so Randy, in line with that, in 2021, we took it out of the code.
Mhm.
Did we go by and say, hey, one, I'm not qualified to even make that decision. Actually, I don't think any of us, well, maybe you are. Anyway,
That's a personal
so
decision then.
that's
Yeah.
fine. So we didn't have the information that we wanted to. I'm just saying, why, rather than go out and ask, which we certainly can do, I'm questioning why we took it out. Should we have taken it out? Should we reconsider putting it back in? I don't think the town was ever told when it was put in originally, right? I don't know, maybe. Phil, were you around at that time?
Before I got here, somebody here had smarts a long time ago. Here to tell you, if I ever get a chance to speak, I have two things to say.
You might want to belly up to the microphone.
Phil, find a microphone. You got
So-
3 minutes.
So you're saying that garage.
You might have to call a cop if it.
You're saying that detached garages have been in the code even since before your time.
Oh, yeah, quite a while before me, I'm gonna point out a couple things, Adams County was the first county in Wisconsin to do comprehensive zoning, if not the first, very close to it. And again, somebody with smarts around you. I got tired over my 20 years here, hearing about inbred Adams County people and you're so stupid and all the toothbrush must have been invented in Adams County. I tell you what, there were some smart people around here at some point in time, and there have been for a long time. Somebody had the foresight to do that. So put it in a nutshell like this. I like to keep things simple. Okay. No, the state doesn't require that you do garages, but the county can, as you heard from Joe, and other ones do. And it's a good idea. So I guess by taking it out, what you're saying in a nutshell, we're gonna inspect trusses, snow loads on houses. We're gonna, wind loads you got per house, all this shit. But if you're in your garage, we don't care if the roof collapses or it blows down when you're in it. That we don't care about. Your house, we don't want it to happen in your house, but we don't care if it happens in your garage. So why somebody, I'm gonna tell you that I can't believe, I don't blame the committee either, because I think you were sold a bill of goods. And I think the county board was sold the same bill of goods, because I can't imagine for a moment, like I think you said earlier, that would have passed if people knew exactly what they were doing. I can't believe it myself that it would have passed. And I'm so worked up, I think I'm forgetting half what I wanted to say, but no, it should have never been stopped. It should have never been stopped. And using the reasoning, the rationale that, and Mr. Thiessen comparing apples to oranges, because the state says that they can, farms can also have potato truck drivers that don't need CDLs, all that stuff, but that's the state. That's not Adams County saying go ahead, that's the state. You can't blame the county for what the state allows. I mean, that's a poor at best argument. So when the county here could do something to protect its citizens in the past, you can point to a lot of things. They were done. They were done with the citizens of the county and their betterment in mind. And I'm watching here things around here just deteriorating at a rapid rate. And if the department powers that be get what they want, they'll dump county employee inspectors and go to a general contractor, then you are gonna have people ticked. Because if you think for 1 minute, homeowners or anybody else are gonna get the same satisfaction and be able to call the building inspector and randomly and ask them this, ask them that, you ain't gonna get a hell of a lot of that, if any. You're not. And I'm, I won't go other places there because I'd be speculating to some degree, but I'm just saying, I'm watching bing, 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 bing. Things are just being toppled over here that it took years to build.
Okay, Phil, your 3 minutes are up. Do you want to talk about the next ordinance?
Well, first, I guess, well, yeah, I can say something at the end when we're setting our meeting dates, I guess. Discussion
mean
of
the next-
391.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. To capture a realistic view of what a property consists of, would it be appropriate to add non-vacant land stipulation to structures being added to, to your parcel? So it can't be vacant. It has to have a dwelling on it. Do you know what I'm saying? So right before an accessory structure is on there, just because again, it goes back to the whole, the whole triggering mechanism. No one knows what's on that property because you don't have to come in and say, even for $1. I mean, it's obviously not a revenue thing. It's more of a, we need to kind of track what we have to be able to capture a realistic view. I don't know how else to explain it.
Say it in simple words. I don't understand. I'm missing
So,
something.
so
here.
if I'm on a property, right, I own a vacant piece of property.
Okay,
Okay. I put 150-foot or less accessory structure on it. My assessment doesn't change. No one is aware of it. And yet it might be relevant to your taxes, to the fact that we've now got a building on this property, right? Maybe for insurance, maybe for like the assessments. All of those things are not made aware that that building exists. And so I'm just wondering if we took the vacant aspect away and said, you can have your accessory structures. We'd like to know that they're there, and we'd like a dwelling beforehand. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out because we had problems in town of Easton
so you're
trying
me
to
that you
trying to
want
figure out
people that
curbside
have to have a
locations.
dwelling there. If they're coming up with their camper.
Or
they
maybe
need an
a,
8x12 shed for their lawnmower.
or maybe just a permit so that, you know, I'm throwing it out there, Randy. I
know,
don't
I'm
have
asking,
the
I'm trying to
answer. I
understand.
don't have the answer. So do we have a $1 permit that says I want an accessory structure on my vacant land and I'm making you aware that it's there? Because there's no triggering mechanism without a request for a permit.
But do you really think that, so what are you saying is we're losing tax base?
Well, I think truthfully, if we have taxpayers that have all of these other buildings that they're paying taxes on, yeah, I'm thinking other people that have buildings on their property should also be in that same tax base, right?
What do you really think we generate by a 10 by?
Probably very little, but do you know how much is out there? There's probably a lot.
Jay. Mr. Chair, I'm a little bit confused because over the last 2 years, I built an accessory structure on my property. I had to get a zoning permit. As soon as I completed that project, I had completed the project, they came out and assessed that building.
Was it over 150 square feet?
I'm sorry.
Was it over 150 square feet?
Yes.
That's why.
So the 150 square foot.
Or less.
So another question I have, if I may, is 150 square feet. That's a 10 by 15 building.
You do whatever
Right,
kind of.
you can do it
yeah,
anyway.
Yep.
But, so does the building have to be fixed to a foundation, a slab? So someone brings in a 10 by 15 little farm building and puts it up on blocks and it can be removed from the property. Does that also get taxed?
I think while it's on the property, yeah. And maybe not, because here we're dealing with campers now, right? I mean, campers are movable, but they're wheeled.
So there's
So-
quite a lot to discuss.
There is. And so can we have this as an ongoing discussion? Cause I don't think, Phil, what did you say?
I'm just flabbergasted of how
Okay.
the main issue here is safety, and now we're getting off on things that are so secondary to that. That's at the top. That's at the top. That's why that was done all those years back in the first.
For accessory structures, 150 or less? Okay, but we're on to the next one. We're on to 391.
Okay, Phil, your 3 minutes are up. Let's talk about 391 and then we're gonna end this.
So anyways, I don't know. I don't have the answers. We have those excluded too, for 150 or less in square feet,
Randy.
should we?
John, I haven't heard anything from you, and it'd be nice to hear Lincoln's perspective, a totally different perspective, why you guys do what you do. I mean, you only Well,
Is Lincoln?
you're part of that township, I would just like to know, you guys, my understanding, you only have a zoning permit. And it was, and I don't know if it's still that way, that if it's a addition of $10,000 or less, you don't have to have a building. And maybe they've changed that, but that's the way it used to be out there.
I don't think that I can speak to
Okay.
exactly all
I just
the
wondered if a different perspective,
codes for.
what they were thinking, as they're not in our zoning.
So they don't look at safety.
Well, he
I'm
he
just
doesn't know,
curious.
so don't say
Yeah.
that. I'm asking, I just asked John if he knew.
That does the inspection.
Right,
Yes.
right, but do they, I was told that they don't have inspection on accessory building or on any addition to the home, $10,000 or less. And I didn't know if that was still true or not, and I just was asked, okay. fine.
I'd have to get back to you.
To-
I'm,
Totally fine.
I don't want to speculate. so.
I was just trying to get their take on it, as they're not in our zoning.
So detached garages would be also
Okay,
maybe a thing you wanna look at, but Jay had something.
can we end this for now?
I think Jay had something.
Oh, Jay?
I just wanted, just a tidbit of information. The largest tree stand that you can build is 150 square feet in Adams County. So are we gonna need a permit for a tree stand too? I'm just asking.
Good point. Good point. I don't know. I'm just bringing this up for awareness because I still feel badly about the decision we made in 2021. I still worry about the safety of people and who's building for them too. So, and their future owners. So it's not only the current person building, it's what the next person buys into. You know, the whole buyer beware, right? Call me silly, whatever. So,
Okay, can we move on?
sure.
Okay, financial report. Do you have any questions? Permit report. Questions? Okay, next meeting will be November 1st at 3 p.m. Jody?
So this is where I come in and I say I'd like these added to the agenda, specifically the language on the detached garages. I want it further discussed if we have to, and maybe acted on in at the next meeting. So could I make a motion?
You can make a motion. What would
I
your
will
motion
make a
be?
motion to add discussion and action on the building code ordinance and the zoning administration ordinance, both chapters 166(5)(b) and 391-10(c)(1).
Okay, motion's been made to add to the agenda,
For
discuss and or act on
action. Yeah.
those two ordinances. We have a second. Don, second? Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Churko,
Yeah.
Trevelio. Dozel,
Yes.
Thiessen,
No.
Knockreiner, oops, Gilner,
No.
Shapey.
Yes.
Okay, to be on the next agenda. Like I said, meeting at 3 p.m. November 1st. We're getting into the winter months. We've already signed the ordinances, meeting adjourned.